What's going on, guys? Welcome back, and today I'm going to be talking about Avengers Endgame again. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for 1,000 subscribers. I think it's now 1,003 subscribers, somewhere around there. Thank you so much. I don't really have any videos to make or anything I can really do to like tell you how thankful I am, other than just explaining in this video how thankful I am. And you know, I really appreciate all the support that I've gotten. So, never thought I would reach this high on YouTube, and just such an achievement for me. But anyway, today I'm going to be talking about Avengers Endgame, and about my problem with Thanos, and what I think is the fundamental problem with the character of Thanos in Avengers Endgame and the way they treat him. Now, I don't hate Endgame. I know a lot of people think maybe I don't like Endgame. Now, I've done quite a few videos criticizing Endgame on its execution of some of its story beats and elements, and I have the movie right now on DVD. As you can see, I have my own copy of the film right here. I bought it last week, and I've watched it again, and it's confirmed my opinions on some. It's actually softened me up on some elements of the film that I wasn't a huge fan of, such as Professor Hulk, which I'm a little more fond of than I initially was. But it's confirmed my opinion on one thing, which is I don't like the way they did Thanos in this movie, the way they portrayed Thanos' character. Now, in Infinity War, Thanos is quite surprising. Infinity War, I didn't love Thanos at first, but I've seen Infinity War so many times at this point, the character's just gotten better and better for me, and I think he's just a really excellent character and a really excellent villain. And a villain isn't just dependent on, like, oh, I'm evil and I am an evil guy, and, like, you know, cliche villain stuff. They need to be written really well, and Thanos, I think, falls into that category in Infinity War, not in Endgame. Endgame, he's kind of a terrible villain. Like, if you think of something like Steppenwolf, he's on par with something like Steppenwolf from Justice League, maybe a tad better, but he's in the same vein, in that he's a completely different character, and there are many contributing factors to the point to this point, which is, you know, there's a YouTuber that I really enjoy watching. His name is Phil Mento, and he does a lot of Marvel videos, and he did a video on Endgame talking about the Thanos rat problem. I'm not gonna like say everything he said in that video. Just go check out his video, and he shares a lot of the same views. So I won't go as in depth in this video as he did, because I just wanted to discuss the problem with the character. I don't know how to fix the problem, because they dug themselves into such a deep hole. Or they dug themselves into such a deep hole and wrote themselves into such a deep corner. I don't know how they can get themselves out of it. When this movie was marketed, they finally showed Thanos in the final trailer, and I was really excited to see what they would do with him. I was like, I wonder what they're going to do with him. And that's not the same Thanos, little did I know. And I think the idea of Thanos from the past discovering the Avengers' plan in the future, you know, coming back in time, that's a cool concept on paper. A lot of this is cool on paper, but none of it is really executed very well. Like, they try to set up an arc with Gamora where she kind of accepts that, you know, she's got to do the right thing, and she frees Nebula, and they set up an interesting thing there, like, she's like, we can stop him together. And then that never goes anywhere, because they don't stop him. Tony stops him, right? So Gamora took off at the end. It's been confirmed now in, like, a deleted scene. She, like, walks away. So Gamora's, like, taken off now. But, like, that was such an interesting scene, and, like, a really interesting, like moment for that character. But, like, it just doesn't work out. Like, the one interesting concept that I think comes from, like, going back in time and this whole idea is Nebula. I'm going off topic of the character of Thanos, but I just wanted to mention this, is that the concept of, you know, Nebula going back in time, and she tries to convince her past self that she can change. And by doing that, by trying to convince that version of herself that she can be good, she almost makes her more committed to doing evil deeds. Like after finding out that she turns good, she becomes even more determined to complete this evil deed. And I think that's a really interesting concept, which is, you know, even if you turn good eventually, like something like this could happen if you wanted to do time travel and change something in the past. It could end up even worse, and they eventually have to kill that version of Nebula. I just wanted to bring that up. I think that's a really cool concept. But getting back to Thanos, he's not the same character. He's not like if you started the movie, I was interested to see what they do, and I was like, I hope they didn't just they killed him off in the beginning. I'm like, okay, everything at that point is fine. Like, I understand why he destroyed the stones. That's the same character. It's exactly what I expected him to be. And then they kill him, and then, of course they have to write him back in, but it's like the final battle, they try to give this emotional impact with him at the end, him dusting away. Like, Tony fulfilled his mission, he defeated his fear, he defeated his greatest fear. Now he can rest, But there's no impact there because it's not Thanos. It's not the real Thanos. It's this crazy, megalomaniacal one from the past. It's not actually Thanos. It's not the version that, Stark, I respect you, or, I know you, Stark. It's not that character. It's just this crazy guy who has the most cliche villain dialogue, like, you could ever have. And, the best part about it is Josh Brolin has great line delivery. Like, he has a really great voice for the character. So every line he says is instantly quotable. But in Infinity War, whenever Thanos said something, I've realized now what my biggest problem with this version of Thanos is. He feels like a knockoff version. It's not the real version. Because with Josh Brolin or Thanos in Infinity War, you felt every time I heard him... I know it's not for everyone, or this isn't the same for everyone, but whenever he said something, I felt like he had something to say, something meaningful to say. Like, his character was always moving forward. He was always saying something meaningful or doing something meaningful that he thought, like, he was doing the right thing. This version is just like that. There's none of that. He just feels like a knockoff and like a version of the character that is like that is like spewing out, trying to sound cool and saying cool things, but he's actually a loser. And that's the thing with Thanos in Infinity War. He was an intimidating presence because he was this for most of the characters in that movie was just this kind of this looming like name. Like, Thanos actually means death. So, he's like this looming title that's just, he's coming. You can't stop him. He's coming, and he's looming over everything. And then it eventually leads to that final showdown in Wakanda where he finally walks through the portal, and everyone sees this just menacing being for the first time. And it's this big, like, final stand against him. But with this Thanos, he just says all these stupid things like, I'm going to enjoy it very, very much. Like, he just says all these ridiculous, idiotic things. Just make him seem like a sore loser trying to sound cool. Like a big baby Thanos. Big baby version of the character trying to sound like a cool guy, but just completely failing. Like, he just sounds like a complete loser. But he's, like, saying it in this really cool way, and he's like, I'm cool, It just ruins the character development. Like, this Thanos, like, when they almost have a moment, like, where Thanos goes up to Gamora and he's like, I did it. I restored the universe, or I brought the cosmic scales to balance. And then he goes and, like, kind of touches Gamora's face, and it's almost like a moment of sincerity between him and Gamora, kind of, like, representing that side of him that cares for her. But then a second later, she just bows, and I'm like, oh, so that's all that he wanted was just for her to bow to him. Like, this doesn't feel like Thanos. Thanos never wanted to rule. He never wanted, like, this massive throne. Like, there's a deleted, like, part of the movie where he goes and destroys Earth or something, and then sits on a throne of skulls. That's not who Thanos is. What, like, the part of the beginning where he's sitting, just making soup for himself. That's who Thanos is. He's, like, an evil person, but he doesn't use the power, like, he doesn't use this power for any more than he thinks he deserves. Like exactly what he says. He says, the stones serve no purpose beyond temptation. He didn't want to be tempted himself to use the power of the stones for anything more than what he thinks that, like, their purpose was needed for. He doesn't want a throne. He doesn't want to rule everything. He was an evil person, but in the end he did care about Gamora. But with Thanos in Endgame, it just seems like he wants, you know, like, it doesn't seem like he actually cares about his daughters. All he seems to want is admiration. He wants thanks, you know, like with Thanos in Infinity War, he knew that the Avengers were going to try and stop him, and he knew they weren't going to be grateful for what he did. And, you know, he tells them that in Endgame, he's like, you should be grateful, but he's not going to force them to be. He knows they're not going to, like, be happy about what he's done. And he knows that they're going to come kill him, but, you know, he knows that he fulfilled what he did. This isn't Thanos. This is just some crazy guy, and people are going to like, oh, he's from the past. We saw Thanos, like, ages ago, eons ago, when he finds Baby Gamora, and he was the same character. He's an evil person, but he still respects people. He respects Tony Stark. He still respects all the people that stood up to him, like Scarlet Witch, like Wanda. She always... He was like, you know, he's like, I know how you feel. You know, he respects everyone. Like, he although he's evil and he doesn't agree, he knows that they won't agree with his views and that he doesn't agree with their views, but he still respects them for, you know, the valiance that they showed while fighting him. This Thanos has no respect for anyone. He has no, like, sense of character. He's just like an evil guy who is a cliche villain spewing out dialogue like Steppenwolf from Justice League, who was like, you will love me. Like, he's the same character. He just spews out cheesy, corny dialogue. And once again, people are like, brought up, you know, Thanos in Infinity War, they were able to write Thanos in Infinity War to a point where he doesn't feel he's contradicting past events other than that huge timeline plot hole, or, like, not explaining when the Black Order came into play in the flashback. Go check out my Infinity War re-review if you want to see what I think about that and like, a further explanation on that. But, like, the Thanos in the past, you know, he was always trying to get people to help him, and then they betrayed him, and, you know, at a point he was like, okay, I have to do it myself. And he says that in the post-credits, you know, I'll do it myself. But it wasn't out of, like, spite. It wasn't out of, like, oh, well, I guess I can't be lazy anymore. It was a point where he's like, okay, clearly I can't rely on people anymore. It's time for me to just, you know, step in and finish this on my own. Thanos in Endgame just sits around. He's like, daughter, thank you. Go get stones for me. You know, like, he's just like an idiot. He's just like, whatever. And then it contradicts past events, because with Thanos, like, when they show him in the past, like, we know he wasn't there because he was sitting in his chair, you know, his floating chair. We know he wasn't there on the ship. We know he wasn't going around doing this stuff at that point in time. They try to say him, you know, Ronan, I'm dispatching you to his ship. That doesn't make any sense with past events. None of it does. It just creates, like huge contrivances. You know, and, like, fine, I understand the appearance change, because, you know, they finally decided on what the design of Thanos is going to be. You know, and it's kind of unfortunate, because, like, there's no emotional weight when he tries to, you know, they try to keep the whole I am inevitable thing, but by the end, the only reason why he knows to say that in the final battle isn't because he's the same character, he's just saw his future self say it. You know, he's not like, it's not like a huge, like, full circle like Thanos is here at the end. No, it's a different character. So let me know in the comments, do you have any ideas on how you think they could have kept the soul of the original Thanos? Because I think they've just dug themselves into such a deep hole with how badly written this version of Thanos is. He's just not really a character. He's just... The film doesn't... With Thanos in Infinity War, this is the thing I've heard most people say is, he's a character and a special effect afterwards. The special effects on him are amazing. But he was always a character first. Like, the character is well-written, well-rounded. In Endgame, all he is an obstacle for them to stop. And you're supposed to feel emotional weight when Tony finally defeats the thing that he always feared. But in the end, it's not the same conflict, not the same character. So, there's no weight. Like, when he sits down at the end, it's mirroring the end of Infinity War, when he sits down in the shed at the end of Infinity War. But there's no weight there, because this isn't the same Thanos that went through. The reason why that that scene at the end of Infinity War has so much weight is because we know what that Thanos went through to get to this point. In this movie, we just saw a greedy, maniacal tyrant die. Sure, whatever. They're trying to make it all cool by mirroring the end of Infinity War, but there's no weight, because this Thanos hasn't gone through anything. So I don't know what they could have done. It just feels like in this movie, out of all the great things in Endgame, they ran out of ideas with Thanos. They didn't know what to do with him, and it's really sad. So please let me know if you have any ideas on what they could have done to fix Thanos. What do you think they could have done to make him feel like a real character, make him feel like the original version? Because he's not a character in this movie. He's just an obstacle. And there's some villains like that, that are fine. Like in Spider-Verse, Kingpin you can just say is an obstacle for Miles to overcome. But what I love about Spider-Verse is even with Kingpin being basically just an obstacle, they still give him that little bit of character growth so you can get behind him. And with Infinity War, that's what I found so remarkable about that movie, is it's Thanos' story, and it's about the character going through all this, and it's basically about the villain. And that in this big Avengers movie, it's actually a personal story, but it's about a villain, not about the heroes, And with Spider-Verse, it's that's what surprised me about Infinity War, is it's marketed as this big blockbuster movie, but Thanos isn't a big corny villain. In Endgame, he's a big corny villain. There's a reason why in Infinity War they deleted the fun isn't something one considers when balancing the universe, but this does put a smile on my face. There's a reason why they cut that from Infinity War, because it was way too cheesy. But in Endgame, they just wrote them, they were like, okay, he's from the past, whatever. And then they just wrote this villain that spews out dialogue such as, what I'm about to do to your stubborn, annoying little planet, I'm going to enjoy it very, very much. Infinity War Thanos would never have said that. This isn't the same character. So in the end, I think the concept of Thanos being from the past, seeing them in the future, and, deciding to take a stand or whatever, it's an interesting concept on paper, but it just feels like an obstacle for the characters to face and not a real character. I understand that this movie is long as it is, but just please, if you guys have any ideas on, I know we can't change the movie, obviously, but, please let me know if you guys have any, ideas on what you think they could have done to, change Thanos, to make him more interesting, to make him feel like the same character. I can't think of any, really, at all, but if you guys have any, please let me know, and please let me know your thoughts on Thanos in Endgame, and let me know if you agree or disagree. Let me know if you think the character was well-rounded. I don't know how anyone could see this character as well-rounded because he's terrible in Endgame. But, yeah, just please let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.